What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Nick with Techno Warriors TV. I am the editor-in-chief, and welcome to the Techno Warriors TV YouTube channel. I have something really exciting for you guys today. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for another spooky paranormal interview. So, I'm here with Hilton Live Paranormal News. This is another big milestone in our channel. We have one of the big kahunas. And when I mean big kahunas, we have an actor slash paranormal investigator. This guy has been on several paranormal related shows. Like which paranormal shows have you been on?
Paranormal Revenge, Haunted House, and I've been featured in magazines and documentaries at Georgetown University.
So this guy has been on Travel Channel and other, like with the crazy paranormal stuff. He has also had some spooky hauntings happen to him. Now you're going to hear about that in a later interview called The Hauntings of Dr. Hilton. And it is going to be so scary that you'll want to wear some adult Depends diapers when listening to that interview. Ladies and gentlemen, it is such a real treat to have Hilton Live Paranormal on the show today. So, Dr. Hilton is actually going to tell us what he does on the show and tell us a little about the paranormal show. So, without further ado, tell us about your paranormal show and take it away.
All right. Hey, guys, my name is Dr. Hilton. I'm the host of Hilton Live Paranormal News. We cover worldwide paranormal news, and we go deep into it from a scientific and spiritual perspective. Our show also has guests on there that have been featured on other TV shows like Miss Rita Struggle, the famous Bishop Rita Struggle on Legion of Extras TV show on Travel Network. And we look at paranormal, UFOlogy, and other unexplainable phenomena from a very scientific perspective to a degree. And we just take it from there like that. We cover news from worldwide, from country to country, state to state, because we have to remember, paranormal is just not here in the United States. It exists worldwide and beyond.
So, where did you, tell me about what you guys do in your show and some of the technology you guys use.
Well, Hilton Live Paranormal News, we really report on paranormal issues. Paranormal investigation, that's a whole nother can of worms in itself, but we actually report on paranormal UFO phenomena. I'm also a member of MUFON. So what I do, I examine paranormal news, I break it down, see what it looked like. When our guests come on the shows and we interview them, we usually do an assessment on them if they're talking about their paranormal situation, do a little bit of background check, make sure that the client has integrity before they come on the show.
So basically, you're just not wanting to say, "Oh, I did this," just to be on the TV.
Oh, absolutely. In this day and age, you have a lot of people that will come on, and they, some people just want attention. I have people send me all type of bizarre items late night. Like, can you look at this? And it's something they bought from a gift shop, and they're trying to pass it off as like a alien baby or something. But I want to say this, like Hilton Live Paranormal News, we take it serious, but we have fun, but we don't do the gimmick stuff over here. We don't do gimmicks.
So you see a lot of these TV shows do gimmick stuff.
Yes, yes. Well, let me back that up. When I mean gimmick stuff, like there's just certain topics I don't touch on too much for integrity problems.
Mm-hmm.
Like because of my credibility in my name, like in our show, the content in our show. Like I'm not saying Bigfoot don't exist. I just don't cover Bigfoot.
Yeah,
I'm not
just
saying
like
he don't exist.
we don't cover Bigfoot either. We only cover because we funded them as a popper culture line, paranormal and extraterrestrial stuff. So that would be hauntings, exorcisms, paranormal and encounters, investigator teams, and with the UFO, we interview people who've had UFO sightings, alien encounters, alien abductions.
Exactly.
We interview MUFON, and a big shout out to the people from the Mutual UFO Network, including Earl Grey Anderson, Chase Kowinski, Jesse Peak, just to name a few, and even Linda Thompson. And we have more people for MUFON coming in the future. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to Dr. Hilton. Be sure to check out Hilton Live Paranormal News. I'll put everything where you can see this in the description and where you can actually check out all of his stuff. It is a really, really cool thing. Now, as you see this spooky looking thing, that kind of shows you what you're going to see in the next interview with him. His hauntings were so scary that you're going to want a pair of adult Depends diapers because it is poop your pants scary. Now,
Damn sure is.
What can people reach you guys and check out your show?
Our show is streamed on Rumble TV. We're on Rumble TV. We're on Facebook Live. We're on LinkedIn Live. We stream at the same time on there. I'm also on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Amazon, and we are officially signed to Real Paranormal Activity Network, where we release brand new shows every week over there on the podcast side of things.
That's super awesome. Now, how long have you been doing this show?
Hilton Live Paranormal News originally started out as Hoodoo Lounge Paranormal News, and I decided to brand myself versus the Hoodoo Lounge, and we've been doing it, I would say, since 2020. We've been doing it, but at the same time, I was working on my doctorate degree and interning at the Ryan Research Institute of Parapsychology and Paranormal at Duke University. So that's when I decided to pick it up, my content, and produce more weekly content. It started all back in 2020.
So would you consider yourself a demonologist?
I'm not a demonologist per se because I respect what they do. When I interviewed the great Bishop Rita, she's been doing this for a while. She has a calling from God to do it. I'm not a demonologist. I study demonology. I study demons. I have interacted with people that have been possessed. But to a demonologist themselves, that's a specific school of thought. You have to be trained in that. You cannot fake that. And it's dangerous going into it if you don't know what you're doing.
And you see a lot of people try and fake it, and then they get themselves jacked up.
Well, there's a difference between people doing it on TV for entertainment purposes. I understand that. I respect that because that's what the show is for entertainment purposes. But you can't be somebody on Facebook and just say, well, I'm a demonologist now. Because when you're dealing with demons, if you don't know what you're dealing with, you could attract a demon and bring it home with you, and it could torment you, your kids. It's nothing to play around with. Demons are no joke. There's a difference between a demon and a haunting, by the way. A demonic possession is far more brutal and dangerous than a haunting.
And so have you been a witness, and this is what we're going to talk, this is what you're going to get a little preview of coming soon, with the haunting of Dr. Hilton. This guy has witnessed demonic possession, performed an actual exorcism, and he's even seen demonic encounters and had demonic entities attack him and everything. It's going to be really, really spooky. But please make sure, if you're scared of this stuff, this is not for little babies.
Put the kids to bed.
Put the kids to bed. Grab yourself grab yourself some Ivory coffee, teas, and bobas. And because guess what? It is going to be absolutely insane. It's going to be a very long interview, probably an hour long, even more. It could be up to an hour long. It is going to be one heck of an interview. This is going to be an awesome interview, and it's going to come to Techno Warriors TV, and so it's going to be absolutely amazing. Now, where can, people can reach you on Rumble, and then any social networks people can get you at?
Definitely. I'm on Facebook, Hilton Live Paranormal News. We have our group, which we post. We also have the Hoodoo Lounge group, where it has almost 10,000 members in it, where we talk about alternative spirituality, hoodoo, root work, Wicca, spells, paranormal on there too. You can follow me. What else you can follow me on? Like I said, Rumble TV. You can follow me on Twitter under Hilton Live Paranormal News there too. And I'm also on Instagram under Hilton Live Paranormal News.
And we'll put everything you need in the link in the description below.
And I do respond to my clients too. Like if you reach out to me, I will respond to you if you have any paranormal stories or situations you'd like to tell.
And also, the cool thing is, we, let's say, and he'll actually direct us if it's scary enough or serious enough, you'll direct it from me, to them to me, and you'll actually, we're gonna give a shout out like, this video was made possible by Hilton, Hilton Live Paranormal News. Blah 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 blah. So it is gonna be absolutely awesome, and it looks like I'm gonna have to get a bigger hard drive because of it. Ladies and gentlemen, paranormal news is absolutely insane. Ufology is absolutely insane. I mean, if you saw this
Yes.
Congress thing is, I couldn't cover that because of my health. I was too weak to cover it. But I'm feeling really good today. I've got my oxygen on, and we are rocking and rolling. We have got so much content coming soon. It's gonna blow your mind. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for watching this video interview of the Hilton Live Paranormal News interview, or 2023 interview, featuring Dr. Hilton. He's an actor. He's he studies paranormal. He's a paranormal psychologist. He he's done an exorcism. He's a ufologist. I mean, he does so much stuff that that deals with the spooky stuff and things that go bump in the night and things up in the sky. He's also a MUFON field investigator. So you said you're not doing stuff right now with MUFON, correct?
No, I'm not. I'm focusing more on Hilton Live Paranormal News and filming actual TV shows and focusing on my podcast and my brand right now. I'm still an active member of them, but not in terms of field investigation work. What people need to realize is when you're a parapsychologist, and this what separates, like when you see the term parapsychologist on TV sometime, a lot of times these people don't even have bachelor degrees or a master degree. In order to be a parapsychologist, you have to have a bachelor degree in psychology, a master's somewhere in the field. And then, like I said, I did my internship at the Ryan Research Institute. And most of the time, a parapsychologist is in a lab. So parapsychologists don't deal with ghosts. We deal with the unexplainable psychic phenomena, near-death experience, and sometimes near-death experience could cause psychic phenomena. But we also do scientific research. We use correlation, different research methods to come to our conclusions. So it's a real science.
That's awesome. Just like volcanology and riotology, it's the study of riots and protests. Do you do you think paranormal physiologically has something to do with the study of riotology?
Well, parapsychology and riotology, those are two different schools of thoughts. One of them is a psychological base and dealing with the mindset of the brain. How can our brain experience different phenomena such as telekinesis and psychic abilities and some other stuff? And is it caused through trauma? Is it caused through near death? Is it caused through something unexplainable that we can't explain at the same time? But riotology, I would say, is more of a sociological study or something more in the field of sociology.
Mm-hmm. And it's like I study that stuff. I'm also a volcanologist, so I study volcanoes too.
Ah, that's cool. That's cool.
And it's like if you guys remember, and here's the thing: when Rodney King happened in 1992, the amount of UFO sightings and paranormal experiences shot through the roof because they sense when a super volcanic or a super riot eruption is coming. And when the eruption happened in 1992 in LA, there was UFO sightings everywhere right before the eruption happened. And because guess what? They were seeing what was going to happen, and they saw what was going on. Yet became the world's largest, you could say it was the Lake Toba of riots. Equivalent to 13,000 cubic kilometers of material belted out in 2 to 4 weeks in LA, creating a 131 kilometer eruption column from all the smoke and all the crap that was put in the air.
Well, let me ask you this. right now in today's society, you have massive UFO sightings taking place. You brought up the Ryan King incident. You related to radiology and
Mhm.
UFO sightings back then in the 90s, early 90s. Let me ask you this: in today's time, we have massive nuclear weapons. We have NASA going back and forth out to space right along with other nations, not just the United States and everything. And you have a bad economy, you have massive gun violence and everything. Could it be that the UFO sightings that are increasing today are they increasing one due to technology such as camera phones and massive cameras? Or are the UFO sightings increasing because these extraterrestrial species are trying to communicate something to us about humanity might be on the brink of self-destructing from within?
So you think that we're entering a fifth or even a sixth ELE or an extinction level event?
Possibly, are they trying to prevent that? I mean, if you look at it, the last few times UFOs, like look at DeSantis down in not DeSantis, I'm sorry, Mark Rubio, which was at the hearing, the UFO hearing. He was one of the main people pushing it because he keeps saying these crafts is flying over nuclear plants and knocking out the plants. Well, why are these crafts flying over nuclear plants? It's because they're trying to warn us to say, hey, look, these plants are dangerous to not just the Earth, but to the galaxy on a whole. Do they know something on a whole from beyond? Like, hey, if a nuke go off, they could destroy the whole galaxy. It could implode from within. Even in Russia, they have reported that UFO crafts have flown over their facility and knocked out their power. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the United States, China, and Russia has communicated with each other. This is a fact. It was spoken about at the hearing. It wasn't speculated. It's a fact. They have a code word that they say to each other to let them know if something gets triggered or go off, a missile, a nuke, they'll contact the United States, say, hey, wherever the code word is, that's not us. It's them in the sky that knock something out that could start a world war. So the two countries don't start shooting at each other like, whoa, whoa, that's
Isn't that
them
like, you
from
ever seen the
beyond.
movie War Games
Yes,
or By
yes.
Dawn's Early Light?
There you go. War games, exactly. Like that.
Another movie is by if you it's it's an older movie, but it's called By Dawn's Early Light. Um, and it talks about a large scale nuclear war that was caused because of an accidental firing due to a computer hack. War games. If you ever heard of Strategic Air Command, the Strategic Air Command was a big thing back in the 60s, 70s, even 80s.
Indeed.
And you had General Curtis LeMay at the helm. We need the Strategic Air Command back in. And I know this is going a little bit off topic, but you're going to see a lot of these more prevalent UFOs because they've been knocked. If you ever heard of the show Hangar 1, Hangar 1
That's right.
was directed by MUFON. And be sure you check out Accidental Truth. That it's a full feature about MUFON and some of the stuff that's happened. So be sure you check that out. A big shout out to the Mutual UFO Network once again. Now, this is what these guys cover. Anything that's extraterrestrial or paranormal related. Hilton Live Paranormal News covers this type of stuff. And you can check them out. They do this stuff all the time, and they are pros at it. They're just not there to willy-nilly do the bells and whistles.
That's right.
Flute and hollering, okay, let's do this for entertainment purposes. Let's see how many. Let's just do this for TV. I mean, they really do. They do it professionally and serious. Like you say, there's a difference between professional and just wanting to just hoopla for TV.
Right. You have to think about the long. I mean, like I said, if and I'm not knocking anybody. Once again, I'm looking in the camera. I'm telling you this. If you're about entertainment, I love it. I love it. I'm a horror movie junkie, and you can follow me on my other TV show too, Hoodoo Lounge TV. I'm a horror movie junkie. I'm telling you, I love it. I'm just talking about, I'm looking at the paranormal because everything that they have told us over the last 20 years that has been, they told you pseudoscience, fake, Elvis lovers and this and that. Now they're telling you today's time it's real. They're telling you UFOs are real. Just the other day, I'm watching on Saturday. It was. Did you know they had the largest Loch Ness monster hunt in the last 50 years?
Wow.
Every news channel was covering this. CNN, Fox, The Hill, and I'm looking at this in the gym and I'm saying to myself, I'm like, wait a minute, man. They've been telling us Loch Ness Monster was like some hoax crap since I was, since the 80s. Now you're telling me this is the largest Loch Ness hunt. They believe that they really spotted it, and they said the largest hunt. They had all type of news crew out there saying that they have evidence that there's more than one and that he's been seen. And the point I'm making is, this is the age of Aquarius. This is a time in humanity life where truth is being revealed. What they told you was a lie is now the truth. And that's why the paranormal should be respected and researched with integrity.
Because it is going to get worse.
That's right.
Also, we will probably see a prevalence of more riot and volcanic eruptions. Now, like I said, this is about your paranormal show, but being based on the paranormal, do you think we're going to see a super riot eruption on the scale of George Floyd, or even on the scale of Rodney King in the future, or even the Watts riots?
I think that any riot that you see in the future, it'll be society collectively against the masses and power. Because right now, any riot that take place is going to be based on economics. It's going to be based on the potential of shutdowns or lock-ins coming back, and people being fed up. People can't buy grocery, food. They can't pay for gas. The government has forgotten about people. I just read an article today that Gen Z completely checked out of the job market, which I really don't blame them, because going to college, I have degrees, it's not the same thing as it was. The value of an education, not the same thing it was in the 80s and 90s. So
Yeah.
any mass rioting you see that's going to come, it's going to be from society on a whole that's sick and tired of being sick and tired of the elites abusing them.
Now, so as a volcanologist slash rhyologist, we have something what's called the Volcanic Explosivity Index. It's mainly used for volcanoes, and that's created by the United States Geological Survey. However, because of George Floyd, it got blown up in the proportion with riots too, because they can be just as deadly as super eruptions. Take Rodney King. It was so bad that you could say it caused like a 12-year volcanic, or I'd say riot winter in California, because it completely blocked out the sun in California, lowering the temperatures in California, causing blizzards in California from that riot eruption.
Wow, that sounds like 9/11.
Yes. Now, this big, huge eruption had eruption columns going to. You could say it was a Lake Toba eruption of riots. Now, we haven't had a riot like that since the 1800s with the New York City draft riots. An equivalent, that was the Wawa Springs 28 million years ago between Nevada and Utah. That was equivalent to that super eruption. But in terms of a riot eruption, it would be on terms between 17 to 18,000 cubic kilometers of material. That's how big that puppy was 28 million years ago.
Oof.
So, in terms of a riot, during that New York City draft riot, it was the Wawa Springs. Then you had Lake Toba. That was the Rodney King of things. George Floyd and Portland, a lot of it was still very explosive. 1,800 cubic kilometers in Portland, Oregon. George Floyd was around 12 to 1,300 cubic kilometers. Now, in 1992, you had the, like I said, I'm getting off topic, but you got to remember, a lot of it's paranormal, because there's a lot of paranormal experiences going on before this stuff happened. It was like the predecessor of it. And so you got these ghost sightings. You had all these hauntings right before the riots broke out, even in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is a demonic hotspot.
I bet it is. That's why they call it Sin City, right?
And so basically, you had that large riot there, which now, guess what? Previously was a VEI 7 at 700 cubic kilometers. After more studying, it is now the same size as Yellowstone's lava creek eruption 640,000 years ago. So it is on the scale of Yellowstone's last super eruption. Now remember, Yellowstone is not going to erupt. You get a lot of UFO sightings in Yellowstone because they're watching over the place. However, you get all these clickbaity media, I should say Mary Greeley news. Okay, I'm gonna expose you because Mary, Cat Lady, Yellowstone ain't doing crap right now. So stop scaring. Oh, what's your lot of milk? Blah 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 blah. See, you can. That is the thing I'm saying. A lot of people like to do this fake stuff just to scare people, and it's the same thing with paranormal and extraterrestrial stuff. And do you agree on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you go out for a paranormal investigation, you're not going to find a ghost all the time. You might not find nothing. That's why you do an assessment on a person before you go out. Are they on? Have they used drugs before? Is there a gas line near their house? Because certain gases leaked into the system could cause hallucination. Had they battled with schizophrenic, bipolar, any other type of psychosis type symptoms or anything like that, that could have altered their mindset. Anything, people under certain stress, if you stare in the mirror long enough, you'll start seeing objects and things that might appear that's not really there because of the eyes blinking. A lack of sleep, not having proper sleep where you in REM mode could cause hallucination. But to piggyback off of the riots that took place, also I want you to factor in this. When the George Floyd riots took place, some of that was over George Floyd, but let's not forget, America, what was happening at the time besides George Floyd. You had COVID, the lockdowns, the shut-ins in large numbers was taking place at that exact time. And everybody wasn't happy about that. I watched restaurants go out of business. I watched stores and bars that's been here since 1952 go out of business. People lost their jobs. I know people working at government jobs and they come in the morning time and 3,000 employees were let loose. And they didn't know what was going on at the time in the world. I mean, we're looking at COVID today as us reflecting back. But when we was in the midst of that, I remember the job I was at, we came in with masks in March. They told us if you wore a mask, you were going to get sent home. But
What?
guess what? Remember, this is the early stage of COVID now. COVID really took place in 2019. If you go back, they started quarantining people when they came off them flights in California in December, and nobody didn't know what was going on. And then Kobe Bryant died in January, and the whole American country was destroyed by Kobe Bryant's death. But COVID was still going on in the back burner. Then it catapulted itself around February, March. So there was no mask mandates. They didn't know what was going on with this virus. And back in March and going up until May, if you wore a mask on your job, you were sent home. Because nobody didn't know at the time. This wasn't a requirement. It wasn't until, I would say, going into like September, the mandates kicked into place for the mask.
And
This
also,
was and curfews were put into play too. Remember that? Curfews
yeah.
were put into play.
And so also, what does like this have to do with paranormal?
Well, because you can relate this if we're talking about like radiology, how certain situations, paranormal situations take place before
An eruption happens. Like,
right, before eruption happens. Well, remember, you had COVID, not just George Floyd. You had the lockdown and shut-ins that really impacted more people years later. Past the George Floyd situation, because that was an isolated situation. Everybody didn't feel the same way about George Floyd, but COVID was impacting everyone, even George Floyd, because he died from it.
And check this out. Now, do you know what a magma chamber is?
Yes, I heard it.
Okay, so a magma chamber, think of a capra. Now,
right.
On screen, this is from Mount Eccles.
Okay.
This is just a rock from that eruption. Now,
cool.
When the lockdowns happened, think of it as a cap rock. Okay? You get pressure, you get protests, and think of that as it melting the rock and the pressure building. You got more magma building in the magma chamber. You have what's called a dike intrusion, which is a sudden surge of magma into the system. And the composites can change because of the stress levels of someone. Everybody, like especially during the George Floyd, you had riot volcanoes that basically went from liquidy type of magma to the most explosive, which is rhyolite, which is 75% silicon. You could equate that to Antifa and that kind of thing. So basically, you get the most explosive stuff because of a little tiny paranormal stuff, and so it can just change the composite of the magma. You could go from like 15% melt to 75% melt. Your chamber could be 5% solid, yet because of this happening with the lockdown and stuff, it could, and a national impact event like George Floyd, it could change it into 50% melt right there, change the lava. Well, it's not lava once it's still in, it's magma, but you'll have lava flows, right? But the thing about it is, there's never been a super eruption inside of Minneapolis till 2020. And then Portland has had various large eruptions. You had LA, the biggest one out there. One of the resurgent domes collapsed, and that's why you had that VEI 7 riot eruption in LA, which created the Hollywood caldera. And because you had that big giant riot, it drained it and collapsed in on itself. And it's a social caldera. And what you get from that is paranormal experiences, possessions, demonic oppressions. You have so much, and you can even have alien abductions. You have more UFO sightings in LA because of all this stuff. Because of everything that's happened, there's been more sightings in LA and California than any time there was. Because LA is filled with these large riot, called super volcanoes that make one of them that makes Yellowstone's volcanic caldera look like a little middle schooler's volcano that he built in science class. Because if you could equate it, the Rodney King caldera-wise, if you're a volcanic caldera, is 8,700 square miles long. Lake Toba is not even, it's like 943 square miles. Yellowstone's like 2,100 square miles, which is bigger than Lake Toba. But yet, Lake Toba's was massive, 13,000 cubic kilometers. Wanted to, Rodney King could have expelled just as much as the New York City draft rights, but it couldn't because it didn't have enough more eruptible riot. Nothing could come out because it expelled all that stuff during the 4 to 2 weeks that the riot happened. Yeah.
Well, would you say that are you implying that human behavior manifests paranormal situations? Because if that's the case, then let's go back to the movie Ghostbusters.
Okay.
Just an easy reference for people to comprehend. Movie Ghostbusters, Part 2. You remember when the slime that was in the bottom of New York City, and when they fell into it, like the more angry the New Yorkers got, the more aggressive this slime became. And if you poured this slime on people, it made them more aggressive. So are you saying there's a correlation between eruptions and physical matter and paranormal based off of people behaviors and riots and manifesting negative energy, which in return impacts the core of the Earth's surface?
Yeah, so basically, instead of a volcanic eruption, you get a riot eruption. Yeah, a volcanic eruption, it's Earth crust. It's, geological. But because these riots, think of it as a social, that's why I call it a riot eruption. It's a social eruption. And some of these are why I call it super riot eruptions, because they do just as much damage as a super volcanic eruption. But that's planet altering. But yet, you had these eruptions like Rodney King, which was planet altering. George Floyd was planet altering.
Yeah, was an
the
eruption,
Watts riot was planet altering. The 60s and 70s ones was planet altering. That's why you get these VEI 8 and VEI 7 eruptions that impact the U.S., impact the world. You take a look at the eruptions that happened in France. These were almost on the scale of what we call a large igneous province. And when you don't have a super eruption in one little state, one little city, you have super eruptions all over the state.
No, you do. You do. And
that's why we call a lot of large igneous provinces. You could say that France was the biggest eruption yet so far, because they ejected over 20,000. Now, they're not Civil War status, but they're damn near close to it. I would kick it at New York City draft riot status: 18 to 17,000 cubic kilometers.
Well, I tell you this. I think the massive UFO sighting. Let me tell you my professional spin on this with the mass UFO sightings. I think what you're starting to see here is America. Some of the stuff is reverse engineering, like the Tic Tac objects. Dr. Stephen Greer has stated that you can see them flying out of the mountains on the East Coast and West Coast. The Tic Tac objects are reverse engineering. I don't know who's flying them. That's what he says, because I don't know what human body could withstand that type of inertia and pressure of dropping down in the water and back up again. You'll implode.
Your point, yeah, it's especially you end up gonna be like the Titan submarine.
I was just about to say that. Yeah, you're gonna implode, exactly. So
Yeah.
I don't know who could survive that, but what I do think the reason why the government is slowly leaking this out is because they might be in the possibility of staging a fake alien invasion. Alien Invasion 2023, I think, is coming. It's latest 2024, but I think they're going to stage Alien Invasion, and it's going to be a hologram crafts in the sky, and they're going to be shooting and blowing up ish. There's going to be our military jets behind it. I think all countries going to, like the top countries, going to be in on it. And why they're going to be in on it? Because they're gonna create either a one world government out of it. They're plotting something. They're plotting something, but I think it's gonna be a hologram. They're gonna stage a fake alien invasion. Do I believe aliens are real? Of course, but just like people stage a fake bank robbery, for whatever reason. So yeah, I think they're gonna stage a fake alien invasion to unite all the nations. Because what people fail to realize, that was mentioned during the hearing, China has retrieved and recovered their own crafts. Russia has too. All these nations have talked behind the scenes about what
they've had their own
what they have.
Roswell.
Yeah, every nation talked about amongst them. Like, they got together and say, "Hey man, look what we got. What you got? That look like one we have. What you got? What we got?" Okay, but what that shows you is, on a deeper level, they keep, while they know about all this advanced technology that could change the world, it could stop world hunger, we won't have electricity bill. If you have a material that if you smash it and it straightens itself back out, goodbye Geico, we don't need you anymore. So they say, look, shut up, keep it under wrap, and we'll pretend like we don't like each other. We'll have Americans hating China, China hating America, Russia hating everybody, but behind the scenes, the powers to be is messing with this equipment, trying to rebuild it, and they're doing what they're doing and using technology to the elite advantage. That's what they're doing. We're all just pawns in the game.
So you think they have technology that more advanced than Star Trek, more advanced than Star Wars?
Absolutely.
It'd make George Lucas jealous.
Well, you got to understand something. Art imitates culture. So, I mean, these movies you see, somebody don't whisper in some of these producer ears, say, "Hey man, this is what we got." Once you get to George Lucas status, you start having contact with politicians. You start interacting with politicians quietly behind the scene, and they be like, "Hey man, this is what we got. This is what we retrieved." Because think about this: the first Roswell was not here in the United States. The first Roswell was in 1923, crash landed in Italy. Italy, yes, in Italy.
And you're hearing that right first. You thought the 1950s had that Roswell in the desert? No. This thing happened in Italy.
Italy, 1920 something took place. They found the Vatican retrieved a UFO craft, and this is the whistleblower talked about, and Dr. Steve Greer did too. And they called the United States and said, "Come get this craft," and they got it. And they told them, "Say, shh, keep it quiet." The Vatican told them to keep it quiet because they said, "This is not from here." If man knows that there's a craft that could get to us, but we can't get to it, people are going to start challenging the theory of God now. And that breaks up the church. And the Vatican did not want to lose power of the church. And so the United States been harboring this craft since then. They've been harboring it. Germany, World War II, they have got a craft, not the Bell. They retrieved the craft and they stored it in a BMW plant, factory.
So you ever heard of the Bell, the Glock?
Of course. And now some of that is possibly alien technology, but at the same time, pardon me, At the same time, the Germans had advanced engineering. Where they get it from, I don't know. They were very smart. Matter of fact, the lieutenant from Project Blue Book stated that if the war would have went on for another year, America would have lost, because he said the aircraft that they retrieved from Germany was some high tech, phenomenal stuff that America could not fathom. You guys got to keep in mind that the first space shuttle that was built by NASA to go to the moon was built by German Nazis that they brought here to the United States to say, "You're so smart, we sold you a building. You're going to work for us now."
Yeah, so if you remember the Saturn V rocket, this 360 foot, 360. This thing was ginormous. 5 Rocketdyne F1 engines on the first stage. The thing was it was ginormous, and it put Neil Armstrong on the moon. Now, if you ever heard of a guy named Bart Sabrell,
Yes.
he is a moon landing, and we actually, you should check out, and the little doohickey thing, check out the Conspiracy Corner, where you can actually see your interview with Bart Sabrell on did we go to the moon? Did we not go to the moon? We didn't go to the moon. And remember, that is opinion-based only.
Well, let me touch on that. Let me touch on that real quick about the moon thing. If you go to Hilton Live Paranormal News on Spotify and iHeartRadio, I did a show a couple of weeks ago about NASA employees, high-ranking officials, talking with Neil Armstrong, and I had the interview on that show stating about what they saw when they went to the moon and how they saw buildings out there, they saw satellite dishes, and they saw other crafts off in the far distance hovering over in the sky. They even said they went even inside of a building and saw a humanoid woman that looked like she had dreadlocks, and she was hooked to tubes, but her body was controlling the facility. So this was in the 60s. If we are not alone in this galaxy, what's out there, I can't exactly tell you because I haven't seen an extraterrestrial, but we are not alone. Not even by chance, because the whistleblower stated that these UFO crafts are also just not coming from space. He said they were possibly coming through portals.
And also, USOs are unidentified submerged objects.
That's right. Could be from the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, and also MUFON, the Mutual Neighbor talked about it. He also talked about it on Hangar 1 of underwater bases, underwater UFOs.
That's right, absolutely. Well, that goes back into the Tic Tac object too, with the Navy said they've been seeing and how they were flying and seeing objects rising up out the water. But think about this. Before you even get into MUFON. Now, MUFON, what a lot of people don't know is the government will also pull, if they see a sighting that had potential, like strong potential of being real, they'll pull the records from MUFON. But let's back it up before MUFON. Christopher Columbus stated in his diary how he saw crafts rising up out this water, gigantic, bright crafts rising out the ocean and going off into space. Is the Bermuda Triangle itself alien base? Why is all the objects, it look like they go through time warp? You hear people talking about their compass get messed up, they lose track of time. Did they go through another dimension? Did they go through a portal and come back out? These are questions we need to be asking, and this is where the scientific aspect kicks in.
And also, basically, you ever heard of that term missing time? If you experience missing time, it is a very big symptom of alien abduction.
Now, you remember the alien abduction that took place in the 60s with the interracial couple?
Yeah, I think so.
Right, okay. The famous alien abduction that took place, they were riding their car and they lost track of time. Dr. Stephen Greer said that was a American aircraft that took them in. It wasn't even aliens. He said that was reverse engineering. And then they hit them with psychological drugs to make them feel like that. But they was abducted in a craft, but they just hit them with psychological drugs. Now, Travis, Mr. Trav, I forgot his last name, from Fire in the Sky, that story line, the guy that was out with his guys, he was a lumber cutter in the woods, and he walked up to the craft, and the craft abducted him, and he didn't show up till about 4 or 5 days later. Now, that was a real abduction. He took numerous lie detector tests. He was on Oprah. I remember he was on Oprah back in the 80s. You could look up the YouTube video and everything, and each time his test came back to be true. Everything he said on the lie detector test came back to be true. Each time. He never failed a lie detector test.
So it wasn't Cap.
No, not at all. Up until this day, all his lie detector tests came back positive. He never failed one ever. Up until 20 to this modern day time, all his tests came back positive. He was really abducted.
So check this out. You should. I mean, if this is spooky, you should check out the movie Fire in the Sky.
Definitely.
Because it's one scary movie. I mean, if you know, there's alien abduction movie, there's Alien versus Predator and stuff, all that fun stuff. But if you want the real deal, Fire in the Sky is one of the most coherent and most realistic alien abducting movies out there.
And there's numerous alien species that exist too, by the way. Like
the Greys,
well,
reptilians,
yeah, the
hybrids.
Greys, possibly reptilians. Reptilian could be shapeshifters too. Um, I mean, there's just numerous ones. You have the humanoid ones that are walking amongst us. They call them the Nordics. They're like almost 7 feet tall, 6'11", usually blondish looking color hair. They say, and then there's the theory that once again the whistleblower stated this. So I'm just telling you what the whistleblower say. I mean, remember guys, he was at the hearing. He was at the hearing. I wasn't. I'm just repeating what he's telling the public, and he told Cortez and all your favorite senators and politicians. He said humans was a low version DNA copy of these aliens, meaning that we could possibly come from them. And there's the speculation that they might be us from the future traveling through time warp and portals and coming to us to try to either check on us, how we advance as a species, or maybe possibly warn us or something. Now, I do believe the Greys are the Greys. They're Nordics are the Nordics. But he did say that he spoke with people that have retrieved these extraterrestrial bodies, and he said their DNA was not that far off from ours. Like we was a low bootleg version of them.
Oh wow! So you think there's going to be more alien abductions?
There's alien abduction could be taking place every day that we don't know about. That's not being documented. Because remember, don't look at alien abduction through the eyes or UFO sighted through the eyes of America. South America has UFO sightings. Look what happened down in Peruvian just a couple of weeks ago in that village where they actually showed something hovering silverly above a building, like 10 feet above a building, in a village, and they were showing like humanoid looking figures in the woods looking at them, and the military. The military and law enforcement was shooting at these things, and the miners are saying that they was attacking the people. They said these things stood about 7 feet tall. Okay, but this is the same thing that this gentleman saw. Where at? Out in California or Las Vegas. Remember in that community about a month or so ago when on the cop camera he called in and said it like a 8 foot, 7 foot monster looking at them.
Yeah.
And they showed the craft coming. Okay, so how that happened in the United States and people in Peruvian seeing a similar situation, but they're hovering. And then the news going to come back, America News, going to put a spin on it and say, oh, those was miners wearing jetpacks. So you're going to tell me poor Peruvian miners could afford jetpacks to hover 10 feet over a building? This is malarkey. It is what it is. And you have Russia. 2 weeks ago, they just shot at some crafts in the sky. They said these crafts shot back at them.
What?
Yes, this was in the news. The Hill reported it. The Rise reported it. It might have been in CNN. You could go on YouTube, look it up. Yes, they reported it. Said that they shot back at these crafts, and the crafts shot back at them. So all of them are not friendly. And the whistleblower himself, Dr. David Grush said, David Grush stated that humans have been killed by some of these
aliens,
extraterrestrials.
by these extraterrestrial things.
That's right. That's right. So, I mean, human beings by nature are violent species. What we don't understand, we fear. Now you give that to some people with a fighter jet and high-tech missiles and bombs. Of course they're going to shoot at it. I mean, remember, they shot down something in Alaska, and they never retrieved it. I'm not talking about the weather balloon off the coast of South Carolina. We're not talking about that crap. I'm talking about the one that was flying over Alaska, and then when they interviewed that fighter jet, go on CNN and look it up. You know what he said? The object took control over my jet. So when the weather balloons take control over jets? Yeah. And that was in March. And that was in March.
What is it, Alexa? What is it, AI control?
Right.
Is does the fighter jet have the full self-driving stuff from Teslas?
So he said it took control over his jet. So you have real pilots on CNN just recently in March reporting that this object, that was that whole week when you saw the weather balloon flying over and this and that. Now I got a theory. After I sat back and watched all this information come out and I watched Dr. Greer's disclosure, what if the reason why Biden didn't go after China about this weather balloon, because China never said that was their balloon. What if they staged the weather balloon to distort reality from actual craft flying over the country? Because out Midwest they saw a craft flying and they couldn't catch it. Remember
What
that?
if
All
it's
this was in the same
camouflage?
week. It could be camouflage. It could took off and disappeared. We don't know the technology they have. It could have projected itself. He even the whistleblower said that too. He said these crafts has potential to project hologram images of themselves from space down here on the grounds here. So you think you're looking at a physical craft and it's really sitting out in our orbit projecting an image of itself.
Wow.
So there's a lot to examine. That's where the parapsychology side come in. That's where being a paranormal scientist, a UFOologist, all that comes into play. And anybody could, by the way, people might ask you, well, how do I become a UFOologist? There's no school you can go to. A ufologist is actually a made-up term that just came about probably in the last 10 years. How you become a ufologist, for anybody that's interested out there and serious about it, read books on it. Do your research. Learn the science behind UFO materials that's been retrieved. Learn how to use compasses and things like that. Join MUFON. Join MUFON and get the where do I have it here? Well, look, I don't have my field investigation book. It's over here, but
Okay.
you know,
Yeah. Point that at the
yeah.
camera. It's like, okay, there we go. It can't. You might want to. Okay, you might want to turn off your little Hilton thing.
Where is that? Oh, I don't know. Well, join MUFON. They got a website, for crying out loud. Join MUFON. Join MUFON, and you can learn too. Watch UFO documentaries. There's tons of books. Same thing with paranormal side. Now, there's some like pseudoscience school or metaphysical schools you can go to become a paranormal investigator and learn the science of it. You could watch YouTube videos. There's books out there that you go to Ryan Research Institute, take some credible classes at the Ryan Research Institute on paranormal investigation. You can learn to become official at it, because believe it or not, these are real science. They might be listed as pseudoscience, but nonetheless, it's a science.
Just like
And
volcanology.
yeah, and this science is on every news channel now today. And I'm not making that up. It's in every news channel. And when you have government officials admitting to this type of stuff, hey man, one day you're gonna see these sciences spoken about at Harvard University, which they already are, because the professor at Harvard already stated that there's a giant mothership out on the dark side of the planet Earth, meaning sitting out in orbit. He stated that this year too. So you have real, reputable educators, politicians, military personnel stating all this is real. It's real. It's real. What's going to happen in the future, I'm not a fortune teller. I can't tell you. But keep your eyes to the sky, because truth will be revealed.
And ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap. Thank you so much for watching the interview of our awesome, amazing interview of Hilton Live Paranormal News featuring Dr. Hilton. A big shout out to Dr. Hilton and his team for allowing us to have him on our show today. Also, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to check out all of his social media feeds and where you can check out his
Hoodoo Lounge TV, and we got Hoodoo Lounge TV, Hilton Live Paranormal News, and also Unseen Realm on Rumble.
And ladies and gentlemen, we will put all that in the description, and that way you can actually, and it'll be a long description, and we'll put everything you need to check out his channel. And ladies and gentlemen, also, be sure to check him out. Subscribe to him, and also make sure to subscribe to Techno Warriors TV so you can see and like the video and comment on this, because if you have a question for him, he will answer it. And ladies and gentlemen, we have so much more stuff coming out. Be sure to check out The Haunting of Dr. Hilton, coming soon to Techno Warriors TV. And that's going to be a really spooky interview. So get ready for that one. If you like spooky ghost stories, demon stories, you're going to love this interview. If you like this video, you know what to do. You hit that like button if you like this video. Hit that dislike button if you did not like this video. And if you loved it, all you have to do is strangle that subscribe button, slap that like button in the face, and pow, right in the kisser. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and have a lovely day.